joking with myself. What will happen this episode? Those were the thoughts in my head as you saw me smiling there. Interestingly, at least for me, welcome back, Artist Journal, May 2nd, 2025, broadcasting from Gallery Weekend in Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Searching the internet for new sensations. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we are back. Come Gallery Weekend or not, I am here, my friends. It will probably be a shorter show. There are late nights involved. There is less time, actually, to scan the internet, but we have some pretty cool work here for you today. Check out Feels. There are a few works, missed by Feels here. This came out, I think, a month ago. Amazingly. How did we miss this one? Minted April 1st, Weave. And I have a few of them. Feels, of course. It's kind of interesting. I call this category animated abstract. When I was putting together, God, how long ago was it? I think two and a half years ago. I started this show August 2022. Was it 2022? That would be hard to believe, but it could have been August 2022. We're going to have to check that because we're in 2025, about 2.5 years ago, though. And that following January, I guess January 2023, which is going on 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I did a show at Zed Bar here in Berlin. They have a movie theater in the back, and I basically, rented it out, had a little, basically, art show. And I featured the different categories, and I kind of came to about 8 or 9, interactive being a category, etc. Animated abstract was one, and the reason you can say animated abstract is one, because you kind of have traditional abstract and there's static abstract, but there's something about animated abstract, I would argue, that kind of makes it a category. So, of course, Feels has been on Tezos and Han since 2021. I was just looking that up. I'll actually show you here. I brought it up. So this is the newest work. There are only 75 works, and it's not nothing when you look at how detailed it is. But for someone with such prominence, I would say, as Feels does, has a pretty massive social media, last I remember. For someone with such a prominence, July 20th, 2021, and has been around, but puts a lot of work clearly into their works, and kind of what I consider a bit of a classic of, Han and works like this, like every one. You could argue it's a lot with all of the, innovation or just interestingness of Feels' work. So let's go back here. So kind of coming back a little bit, actually, let's go back here because I think I don't know if they took a break or at least from Tezos, but I guess the dates aren't on here. So maybe it would take a while, but if you just go back a few, we're already in September 2024. I remember showing these. I might have even started the show, actually, with this work here. And then you go back here, and we're at January 30th, 2024. So that's kind of my point. It's, but glad to see we're seeing actually a pretty nice output from Feels the last few weeks here. Actually, since the start of the year. So here's one. And this one particularly kind of sang to me, so to speak, or highlighted itself to me in the sense that we have pixelation seemingly, but it's at a diagonal. And so, again, kind of a new sensation here. It's kind of like and in that respect becomes a kind of knowledge, a visual, a little bit of extra visual knowledge, a tiny addition to our repertoire of, looking for new ways of seeing using this digital medium. New ways of experiencing visual experience, shall we say. Forgive me. It is Gallery Weekend here. All systems go, and I'm on a tight deadline here too. So beautiful work here from Feels. Beautiful color, finally. I mean, is it rainbow? I guess it is. But I feel like a color's missing or something. Red, orange, yellow, green. Maybe yellow isn't overly highlighted. But we do seem to have the full spectrum here, but it definitely has, weirdly, I'd say it still has feels palette. It has the feel of feels. This is a really cool one too. Hocus Pocus. So more wonderful work here from feels. Again, kind of animated, abstract here, kind of far out, trippy. I think a little bit. Hocus Pocus, and as you see here, 88 Tezos, sold out. So pretty nice. A respected artist, you might say. Look at this, 210 Tezos on secondary, and has always been expensive. I remember back when I was kind of discovering all of the great artists on Object, and say when I started the show and the months preceding. I spent about, I'd say, February to June, basically glued to my computer in wonder as I was discovering what really became the foundation of this show, visually speaking. And it's probably why I started a show. I always wanted to start a show. But this is probably the reason why. It's because of the works. And I kind of just wanted to, so to speak, sing about these works. This is February 19th. I believe I've shown this one on a previous episode, but it's nice to kind of look at things in context and within the context of the other works. Another beautiful work, each having its own kind of identity here. This is another one, Statics, edition of 11. Interestingly, I'd say consistently innovative is how I would put it. We're not seeing, maintaining the unity of style. And in the sense that, when you show me this, again, I'm almost back to the palette a little bit, as well as just the feeling of it. I feel like I could recognize this. If you said, who is this? If I'd never seen it before, it would probably be my first guess. But nevertheless, these works aren't exactly, it's not using the exact same process. There are probably similar processes, but there's a certain amount of change within the works. A dynamism, a range that feels is employing. So all to say, look at this. And this is an older one, January 30th, 2024. Love this work. I haven't even seen this work before. Look at that. So, just an awesome way to kind of roll into Friday here. Flip mode, love that. With feels, the wonderful feels. So nice to catch up there on a great artist, another great artist here. Interesting response, a nice response on YouTube. You always wonder, and got a bit of a bump in the subscribers, interestingly. So always interesting how that works here. Let's look at the comments. We heard from the brilliant artist here, Pinsteak, also known as Histrubal Waffle, also known as Kujib. Kujib Sharo. Thank you so much, Poco. No drama intended. I am just bad at math and CSV technology, which is pretty hilarious. As I said here, perhaps an accidental drama or one that's all in my head, but delightful for me nonetheless. So thank you for that, for the entertainment, my friend. The sound was orphaned on an external hard drive for almost a decade. That is interesting. IIRC, it was experiments with random waveforms trigger, maybe something like, if you really want to know, or I'm not sure what IIRC means. It was experiments with random waveforms triggering MIDI events, like decay time for envelopes and voltage-controlled amplifiers, or VCA, and gates. This is interesting, because the music, I was thinking, the music was in my head for a few days. Very special music. Even without the artwork, the music was spectacular. I would just a brilliant composition. Put it this way. If I had gone to some classical music concert and it was 20th century or 21st century classical music and I heard that, I would be like, wow, this is a great concert. And interestingly enough, when I go to, sometimes I go to the Berlin Philharmonie and I'm kind of being put to sleep. I mean, it's 18th century works and I probably don't have the expertise and etc. But nevertheless, so really happy you dug it. I sure did. I was still talking about it to friends in the next, that evening. All the best and thank you again and again. Your enthusiasm is fuel and that excites me. That excites me enormously. So thank you for the comment. Also from Kujeb, also soup, unemployed angel latte soup is my nomination for the next president on Mount Rushmore. Referring, I believe, to no hygiene there. And what a title. Was that the title? That is an outrageously obscure, but in a wonderful way, title. No Ranny Guard, good morning. GM, my friend. Great to hear from you. So just having too much fun over here, aren't we? Let's see what happened on Twitter. Look at this, 10,000. Nice views, a lot of retweets here. You know, it's funny. Just a quick aside before I forget, because of course I have been going out for gallery weekend here. And I was talking to some interesting artists who weren't doing too badly. Who I was talking with, and they're like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, oh, you know, I make digital art and also do this YouTube thing. And they're very interested when I was describing things as art on the blockchain. I was like, it's not, you know, like crypto art and all the things for all the associations and reasons we've discussed. And they were quite interested, which is interesting. Or me saying I put work on Bitcoin. It's like, oh, really? I didn't know you could do that. You know, from another conversation. So it's interesting. And you see Marina Abramovich back on the scene. You know, there's more articles coming out of her doing her NFT thing. So it's quite interesting. And my joke is wearing well, too. It uses the same technology, referring to NFTs. Rural Idol, another cracking show, Poco. One day I'll catch one of those pin stakes. Always great to get a mention. We also appreciate your efforts sharing our work. Well, you're welcome. And yeah, it's kind of tricky. It's a tricky, for those, yeah. It's hard for people to get those pin stakes works, and people don't let go of them, interestingly, you know, or they want a huge fortune for them. So it's interesting. Maybe Waffles puts out editions or something just like at 100 so people can get a Waffles in their collection. P.S. Grain Touch, the work we were looking at by Rural Idol, is the name of the noise pattern made by rizographs, which is super interesting. Very interesting. Maybe, I wonder if Rural Idol are those Rezo, or have you tried putting the hills in Rezo? Interesting. So thank you for the comment, Rural. Great to hear from you, and thanks for watching. Trippy Collector, the music on those pin stake pieces is so next level, and this one in particular. So fortunate to get one. Yeah, indeed. The music was next level, and really the genius, or whatever, the brilliance of this work really is the juxtaposition. Because this is a really fun and beautiful, this green and red, the green especially is just kind of off the charts cool. But it's that juxtaposition where this goes from a cool work, really nice, cool work, to like, whoa, why don't we start the Pinot collection, you know, fantasy show in my head on the big screen with this one? Because of the juxtaposition. Because you know what it does, I would argue, from an aesthetic point of view? It makes you take this kind of kids-like animation, and it makes you, because that music, I mean, as I think I might have mentioned in my reply to Waffles there, it almost makes you ponder your own existence. You know, like that is what that music makes me think about. It's like, this is like a soundtrack to the nature, like to what it is to exist. And so putting this kind of heavy duty, but not hard to understand, but accessible music, anybody can understand that music, with this drawing, with this, you know, Fantavision or whatever it is piece, that is the real, you know, sometimes it's those little simple decisions which take a work from great, good to great, or awesome to like, wow, this is a significant work here of like, you know, that we have to consider here and what it means. What are the implications of this work? So all to say, glad that it's resonating with other people too. J&K, awesome to hear from you. Thanks for the spotlight. My pleasure, my friend. Thank you for commenting. Wonderful team there, Kurt Hustle Collectives. Sachku, thanks for sharing and talking about my art. You are welcome, my friend. Great to hear from you. Salawaki, awesome piece. The retro circuit boards. Salawaki, great choice for today's cover. So also talking about, the newspaper, the imagination here. What a cover. we had there. Glad you enjoyed that, Salawaki. Great to hear from you. Jan Lucas Magone, always a revolution, indeed. And we actually have a work by Jan this episode, so great to hear from you, Jan. And Juniper, thank you for the comment. The sushi, great to see. Neural Divine, great to hear from you. Swalja, well, I'm going to sample this monologue. Hilarious. Hilarious. Curious to hear. It is a monologue, isn't it? Dribble Waffle, I left my unedited comments on YouTube. Thank you always, Poco. Awesome to hear from you. Love the burgers, my friend. Love the new burger. Always in flux, waffles. Alive. Skull Degen Club, wonderful. Awesome. Great to hear from you. Andrea Ballestero. Hi, Poco. Thanks for another great journal. If you're interested in art on the Avalanche blockchain, you could have a look at 01, but you probably already know it. I remember when it came out. I guess I thought it was kind of nice, but I never used it, and I kind of feel like the revolution of digital art on the blockchain, is the fact that you get paid, and I don't think you get paid. Like, it was kind of a trading thing, which was kind of fun. I never tried it, so maybe I would really enjoy it. So, but I'm kind of excited to, like, I call the market, the free market is the beating heart of the scene. I think it's why this scene is so incredible. Actually, I think that's why we're getting incredible artwork. It's because we have a free market here over the internet globally. And yeah, we're selling sometimes for $5, maybe less. But it's a free market and work is moving. So that's, I think that's why it's kind of like, this is even less than rodeo to a certain degree. I guess you're trading, and so there's other things involved. Let's see what else Andrea has to say. It's something in the middle between an art marketplace and a tokenized social network. Still not perfect, but constantly upgrading. So I guess it's still going. A nice growing community and a very active and hardworking team make me like it. Few very good artists on board. Some of them also... There are a few very good artists on board. Some of them also guests on your artist journal, and it has a chronological feed. Well, we love the chronological feed over here, don't we? Back to the good old days of the chronological feed and versus the algorithm. Interesting. Thank you for the comment, and I'll have to take another look there and see what's going on. Eile, great show. A birdie told me about Heavy Paint. So this app that first Ed Marola mentioned and a few others a few months ago, and I've experimented with this, but I haven't shown anything yet of the convergence of tools and awareness and access raises interesting thoughts, both in terms of digital and analog, as I've been seeing lately in the discourse, in the timeline discourse. So this is quite interesting. I'm kind of back to this very kind of subtle point of the digital brushes being simulations of real brushes. And I think it's okay. And it's kind of, I do think it's okay. And you know what it reminds me of? We can even go back to waffles, which is, there was a point where, say for me, overthinking things, but kind of philosophically, as you do with visual art, and you go, and I had used some tools, and I have, say a pencil in Procreate to get a certain texture and this sort of thing, which is a simulation of a pencil. But I did wonder to myself and have a bias personally towards using what I'd call digitally native tools, right? So say the perfect circle, as you'll see in a lot of the, say, Screen Memory series, like this impossible, in a sense, digital mark making, impossible marks to make without digital tools. Because to me, there was something just kind of, why not? And if you can make that look good, well, then all of a sudden you have stuff that's never been basically done before. One could argue, or you're starting to play with the newest of the new, which also philosophically informs the visual culture of our day, which is, you could argue, all mediated through the digital medium. So I think however, when we go back to Waffle's work, it's just like an all of the above strategy. It's sort of like, oh, here I'm going to play with this kids thing, and it's going to create all these 3D textures, right? And I'm not going to worry about it, and it works. And so then I think philosophically I have to go back and I go, well, don't be a purist about it. if I want to say, like, I may still like even say the pixel art stuff and keeping to whatever. I'm kind of obsessed with the square brush, you might say right now. But you don't need to be a purist about it. It's how I think of it. So yeah, because I see heavy paint seems to emulate very well physical brushes. Something I kind of wanted for years. So yeah, so I'm embracing the all of the above strategy. It's an interesting discourse, as you call it. EV3, time to visually revolt. Well, indeed, it's been happening all on its own since, I would say really since the dawn, of like 2020, even before you could argue, but really where things really started getting kicked off. On Ethereum, it has to be given its credit. And then, also on Tezos here and all over the place now. Avalanche, Bitcoin, etc. This is quite a head turner. Art Gnome, pioneer in the whole NFT technology, or at least as far as embracing it and sharing it. Proud of what we built with Club NFT to help preserve digital culture, but with the market contracting over the last few years, we haven't been able to make the product sustainable. Grateful to everyone who believed in the mission. So Club NFT there's this concern, for those that don't know, in about 2 sentences here. Basically, the images, we're doing tokenized images here, but the images link to a cloud service, usually it's IPFS, Interplanetary File Server, which the name itself makes you like, oh, is this going to be around for another, 2 weeks, 2 years? So what Club NFT was doing, which Art Gnome was heading, was basically backing up all of these images so that if IPFS goes down or whatever, you still have a copy and people can still see, the image. It doesn't disappear. So they were backing it up, but I don't know how much it costed, but I think it costed a certain amount of money. And yeah, let's see what they say, and then maybe a couple more comments on it. We're shutting down Club NFT backup service on May 31st. So this was to back up your NFTs or your digital tokenized art pieces. Thank you to everyone who trusted us to help protect over 2 million NFTs. If you're a subscriber, check your email for details and download your backups. We're proud of what we built and grateful for the support. And I think the issue from a business perspective, as someone who has collected a whole bunch of digital art, is I don't know how much they were asking, but it's sort of like you don't want to, I don't know what the actual number is, but I think the general collector is not going to want to spend $10 a month, another subscription, to back up the NFTs. In a sense, one could argue this should almost be a free service on the internet. Like there are some things like archive.org, and then here is like the place, and then you put a bunch of Google ads or something around it, is almost how I would almost be thinking, might look kind of ghetto. But to charge $10 a month to back up the NFTs, it's just like, it's a tough sell. But if you make it free and then put advertisements all around it, or use it as a funnel to get people to other places, then I think there's something, because it's a needed service to back up your work, your works that you spent all this money on, thousands and thousands of dollars for many of us, crazily enough. I say that, it's like, I hope my mom's not watching. Shout out to mom, and I do hope you're watching. Okay, the art newspaper, let's continue. End of investment art, why the bottom of the art market is flourishing. So this kind of feeds in to, as we're kind of painting this picture here, that there is kind of this hunger for the new. I think of the shock of the new, the title of that when I say that. There's a hunger for the new out there, and this is just more evidence for this thesis. Sales analyses show a clear reversal in the growth trajectory as the top end continues to cool. And indeed, I was at a gallery recently, and the numbers that people are charging for works of art by people I've never even heard of, who making, what I'd call competent works of art. But as I was, mentioning to my friend, it's like, are these works necessary to a certain degree? Like, must they exist to, move things forward? Or is this just more art? And you want tens of thousands of dollars for this artist that, like, 99% of the public hasn't even heard of? because, there's a website, maybe artsy, and there's an index on there that says if you do 2 meters by 1 meter and then multiply it by the multiple of the artist, and that's the value. I was talking to a collector last night. He'd been collecting for 40 years, Patrick. And he was telling me, and I've heard this before, the way they value, like how they decide the value of an art. And it's basically like, you do the width times the height. No joke. You do the width times the height, and then basically there's a multiple of how well the artist has done as their museum shows, and like the credibility, so to speak, of the artist, or how well they've done in, history of sales. And then you basically get an approximation. Now, to be fair, how else are you going to do it? Right? But it's kind of an interesting assumption or premise that we're going to assume that the size of the work is this crucial to the value of the work. And that's where I think the fallacy in that whole perspective paradigm fails. I just think it's like, I don't think it's a good value. I understand why they have to do it, because what else are you going to do, especially with so much art out there, all these artists. You kind of need, like, how can you get an objective number, right? But it's literally like width times height, and it's like, oh, should have made it an extra 10 centimeters. Maybe I could charge more, right? And it's like, what does this have to do with poetry is my point. And I'd argue nothing. You can make a huge work that's meh, but maybe you sold a lot. And here's the kind of final part on this. As I asked the collector or mentioned, I was like, but, as an artist, or as many of us know, when you make art, not every work, it's like you're in the lab. You're doing a scientific experiment, basically, in aesthetics. And not every experiment is going to yield the exact same result, right? I mean, you're going to get different, levels, or like some are going to be better than others, all to say. And so that being the case, what does the width and the height, like this is an inadequate tool, but I understand, because maybe it's just the best we can do, because otherwise it's subjective, as he said, and I think that's a fair point. So it's quite interesting, all to say. So I don't know how deep I want to go into this. Maybe just it's basically just saying, if you want to see signs of growth, don't look at the top, look further down the price scale. So look at this. Okay, but the Art Basel and UBS report also says that in 2024, auction sales of works under $5,000 grew 7%, and dealers with turnover of less than $250,000 reported a 17% increase in sales. According to the art price, results under $20,000, and especially those under $5,000, have reached record levels. So what does that tell you? There is a hunger for art, and it's not being served by this overpriced, like the public doesn't necessarily have, frankly, even $10,000 to put, that's a lot of money for most people. Especially you have a family, you have kids, tuition, all the costs of raising kids, on and on. The costs of everything is expensive, and now you want me to spend in that, or am I going to even have to pay an extra tariff on this, right? So all to say, there's a hunger for art. It's a real, people want art. And they also want new art. So I'm not surprised. But what is actually happening at the lower end of the market, a sector of this niche business that attracts hardly any attention from the world's mainstream media, is a new wave of art lovers buying at entry level, or is it simply that existing buyers are making less expensive purchases, or a bit of both? So kind of interesting. I think it speaks for itself. I think art is overpriced, and people just don't want to spend, $40,000 on an artist they've never heard of. Even if there's a small cadre of people that love that artist. You can get a lot of art for $40,000. Imagine you take $40,000 to Tezos and you have $80,000 Tezos. I mean, what could you buy in that collection? That's just one artwork I saw from an artist I'd never even heard of. It was competent work. It was nice work, but it wasn't It wasn't a paradigm shift here, right? So it's kind of interesting. Here's another kind of more evidence. The art newspaper. Hollis Taggart, who I hadn't heard of, but is a prominent New York New York dealer, to open gallery on New York's Lower East Side for emerging artists. Says expansion further downtown is to represent more contemporary artists and appeal to younger collectors. So I also think this says something else, which is the younger generation, so to speak, or people basically, I'd even say under 50, but you could say under 40, they basically want art that speaks to them about their lives and that they relate to and that they can put on the wall and show and not feel like, bored or not feel like they're kind of showing their parents, artwork. This is art that speaks to them. It's part of their identity and who they are. This is their collection, right? I mean, that's part of the whole thing. And so so I mean, in a sense, this should be kind of common sense and to be expected. But it's quite interesting to see it take place nevertheless here in real time. So an appeal to younger collectors. And just finally this was interesting out of Art Daily. Hiroshige has an exhibition at the British Museum. So that is interesting too. What is the first name? Utagawa Hiroshige, who I brought it up here, I believe was a pretty big influence on Van Gogh, which is quite interesting when you start looking at the composition. I have a feeling the composition here, even the subject matter, there is something you do see. It's almost in, what do they call it? Contrapposto. In classical sculpture, instead of in composition, you have the archaic sculptures and Greek sculptures, and the people are kind of like this with their arms to the side. Everything's symmetrical. And then when you start getting to classical Greece, after archaic Greece, we're talking, 450, the 5th century and the 4th century, especially, then, who is it? Polyclides? Or then you start getting contrapposto, which is the balance in imbalance, where you start getting one arm up, one down, but there's still a balance. This is kind of what you see here, I would argue. I mean, this is just kind of classic composition. But you can kind of see, like when you look at this stuff and you think of Van Gogh's works, these nature scenes too. So it's just kind of interesting. Interesting thought experiment. Here's Element Lee. Check out Element Lee. Interface Archaeology. What a title. And you gotta love putting the phone work on cardboard here. What a original artist, 60 by 130 centimeters. So you can multiply that by Element Lee's multiple. It's like stocks, and you can see what that is worth. So here, very interesting as ever from Element Lee. I thought this was hilarious. Deadly Yucca. I want a computer that can display weird graphics like the Apple II with a beautiful palette like the NES and speak with a nice voice like the TI-99/48. Well, you might as well just feed this directly into, Grok or whatever your favorite program is, AI program, and see what comes out. There is a vision, my friend. And let's see, actually, if anything else was added. I don't know anything about hardware, but I want to combine MOS 6502 and TMS 5220. If I study, I wonder if I can make an emulator. You can. People are doing it. AI. Here's Hermipe. More from the Japanese pixel artist front. Super Artist Encyclopedia, the musical world of IF. So I drew a picture based on a reinterpretation of a Vocaloid song. A book featuring over 100 illustrators of various songs is currently on sale. So anyways, more cool. It's almost, as you see here, it's like glitch meets pixel art. Very interesting. So Hermipe out of Japan. And here, catching up on our Japanese pixel artists here, Kassern. So we saw Kassern kind of kill it on Tezos for the Arcadia sale. And here's another work, and there's a little bit of audio here. Kind of different scenes. So there's just something about it, isn't there? And that one's familiar. But a couple of different scenes in this animation here. In the pool. Here you see almost that 2D meets 3D situation, the video game perspective. Very interesting. This stuff's gorgeous. So Deadly Yuka, back on the scene there. This was hilarious. Finally, from the... I wasn't even really trying, but I kind of ended up with a kind of a Japanese pixel art situation here. Kaneko. This is a physical. And here you see the little cat in the grass. A beautiful, wonderful contrast. And it's very interesting seeing these pixel art sculptures. Here's Sabato, remainder of a whole... So Sabato continues to show some older work here. And here it is. Let me just bring it up here. Remainder of a Holyoke candle once drained. All-eye codec data bending made 10 years ago using footage shot in Holyoke MA. And here it is. So interesting experiments from Sabato. As we continue, okay, so let's see, how are we doing here? 35 minutes. We're doing fabulous. We'll see, the internet has not really been playing super nicely with me. Here we go. So here is Zuozo. And again, forgive the internet. Interesting thing to note, though, up here. Do you see the glitch up here? Very interesting. Again, apologies to Zozo for my lame internet here. Beautiful ending here with the flower. So, again, kind of a botched playing of Zozo here. See if it plays properly this time. Kind of a different kind of work for Zozo, isn't it? We'll check out the title in a second. There we go. Yeah, beautiful ending there. So, Framed Flowers, edition of 1, going to Degi D for 230 Tezos. Nice sale. Here is Haiti Rocket Video Wizard. And as you see here, Amiga Workbench, so keeping the user interface here as well, and almost playing with an emulator and then turning it basically into a GIF. This is on Object. It's still available, perhaps, at 23 Tezos, so get it while you can. Haiti Rocket, awesome artist. This is my only pair of pants. This is Time, also known as Santiago, with an abstract, beautiful abstract here. Looks like vector-based and nice kind of cream background. And that is on Object, edition of 15 for 10 Tezos each, 3 gone. And here's Dan Control. We saw this work, but it has now been minted on Object, the last back reading. So interesting. So a bit of humor here in this work as we see the meteor come in. So we already looked at this work and a few selling already, 5 sold. For 15 Tezos each. This is a great piece. 8KC. I found this on Enigmatrix's feed, I believe. And we're going to have some Enigmatrix coming right up here. A couple of works from Enigmatrix's feed. Very interesting feed. This is a fun work, isn't it? A limo and a hot dog, and a very long plane. Very fun. So that is AKC. Let me just make sure... AKC, line of AKC is the Twitter handle. Here's Cider. Go, go, go. I happen to have 4K. So a new work here by Cider. I believe this is on Art of the Millennium. So also cool, great textures here. Almost abstract. We see a figure here that does seem to be elongated in the front. So another cool work. Here's Enigmatrix Sparring. So this is gorgeously textured here. By Enigmatrix, combining a whole bunch of different, as you see here, processes. Like you have the rasterizing and the color separation, you have the PETSCI, you have the ASCII, and of course, Enigmatrix shows his process. And so here you see each one individually. And so here it is actually for the animation. You see the process, and really cool work here. But you also see it in other works that we've looked at where he separates the original with the PETSCI, maybe the ASCII, and then like 2 or 3 different versions. The visual ASCII, which are just those blocks. So interesting. Nice piece here too. What do we have? Theories about the end of the world. Cool work there. And here's just a beautiful fruit. Love the red background. Good sense of color from Enigmatris. Nice response here too. Online. And here, more still life modified by ASCII elements. So here are some still lifes. So more of these. So great to see these too. And I'll never forget seeing that first one. We started the show with it way back. That was a head turner. Shuta Yasukochi. So this I found on Instagram. I believe this is for an album, another album release thing. I'm not sure if it's Japanese maybe as well. And so here, kind of hard to see, but a little bit of, let's just bring it up here. As you can see, some dithering in here, different renditions, of images, renderings, we might say. This was on Enigmatris's feed as well. Mark Moore, interesting abstract here. Nice response here online too. So very cool here. And here's Kaneko. Wow, look at this, the goldfish here too. But first we'll start with this cat on a bench on a beautiful summer day. Really nice what's left out of here as well. Incredibly charming in that trademark blue. Let's look at this as well. Rice Cracker. We saw a work by Rice Cracker the other day. Innovative. Very innovative. Rice Cracker, goldfish. Super interesting. Here is Manidal, some more pixel art, stain a purr. So cool, interesting limited palette here. With a cat, pixel artwork, of course. Interesting also in, you see how it's kind of like a 2 pixel by 1 pixel shadow there, but then here it's 1 pixel by 1 pixel, but up here it's 2 pixel. Kind of interesting little details. And again, nice color here. This is Manidal, Zero Hustle, just per vintage vibes and Velvet Paws. Indeed, has a bit of a 70s feel to it, doesn't it? That's on Object. Here is David Nunn. Another cool work here. This is an open edition and 34 minted so far at 2 Tezos. Interesting piece. Also working with an animal. So cool GIF from David Nunn, whose work we saw the other day. I think it was a dog we saw the other day. So another dog work. Except this is a wolf, actually. Surrender to the Void. This is Louis. So again, using retro tools, as I like to call them, or vintage software. Surrender to the Void, so a little bit of messaging here. We see the user interface and an interesting abstract and this is from Louis. So this is an open edition, 5 minted so far, Tezos 50. So about $1, Byte by Bit burger. So Byte by Bit back with the printing software. Hilarious use of vintage software. I think it's called Banner Mania. I've been enjoying works, 1989 Banner Mania. And so here a new one. From Byte by Bit. Awesome artist. Walk, 31. So I believe this is in the Guantanamo series here. So another edgy work here by Walk. And this sold for only 5 Tezos. You gain a Walk 1 of 1 for like $3. I need to try my luck at that. Jan-Lucas Magone, Symbiosis skeleton version. So nice piece here by Jan-Lucas Magone. We see a skeleton, kind of painterly, and nice kind of monochromatic, red and black. So skeleton version, edition of 1, and this sold, or just transferred. Here's Seba Sestero with a cool abstract here. Or sorry, not abstract. This is a maybe animated illustration, perhaps, out of Buenos Aires. Shout out to Seba Sestero. What a great time I had. I was just thinking to myself this morning, I need to get back. It does illustrations for great publications, too. I think the New York Times has actually done illustrations for. And so Recent Loops by Seba here. So cool work, as usual. This one a little bit more painterly, interestingly. So nice illustrations here. Has work on Object on the Tezos blockchain. Interesting here. Kind of these psychological illustrations. So interesting as ever. Let me actually just pause that. And let's continue. Renki Setai. It's a nice animated abstract here from Renki. As you see, it's its own category, animated abstract. It's different. It's qualitatively and experiential, and the experience of it is different from, say, a static abstract. It's a different kind of thing, which is why I give it its own genre. I guess it's obvious. Edition of 1, this is 30 Tezos available. Not sure what the title says there, but another, same palette, kind of same experimentation, slightly different shape in the background, being masked through there. So also by Renki, 30 Tezos. And here, Dr. Version, a couple of works. I hope they play properly. Again, I thought there was audio. Maybe on the other one there's audio. Unless, let me make sure. Unmute tab. Phew. So speaking of experience here, awesome. Wow. Pretty amazing, actually. Love the music, love the color. It's like a whole immersive experience, isn't it? So that was just listed, edition of 1, Soundframe 11, and here's another one. Cool series. Very cool series. Very nice work. Kind of color field-esque. Apologies to the doctor for having to skip through, but yeah, beautiful, awesome work from Dr. Version. We'll be following that closely. Feedback LJ2, and this I believe has no volume, so interesting. How would you call this? Because here it's kind of glitchy. This is kind of where animated abstract overlaps with like analog video glitch, right? In a sense, I'd almost be. I guess the video glitch is with emphasis on video, but it's hard to say. I mean, say, is Dr. Version there animated abstract or video, analog video glitch? Hard to say. Maybe they belong in the same category. Still working this out. Open edition 333. This is Peterson's. Cool work. Nice feel. Here is Time on, or Santiago on Super Rare. So putting out a new work, kind of looking like loosely based on the other work, but here with a whole bunch of animation and some pixelation. Kind of looks like AI involved as well. Let me get rid of this. I need to uninstall the Phantom Wallet, don't I? Okay, Story by Time. This is bought by Batsoup. So how much did this sell for? This sold for 0.25 ETH. Nice work. So Santiago. So it's still worth it to put your work on Super Rare. There are sales still being made. No Hygiene, who of course I follow. I'm an angel. So continues to win over myself and others. I'm an angel. It's kind of interesting what No Hygiene has done. Like, look at this. I love this comment here. I love your work so bad. And here this angel kind of crying, and 648 likes in the last 22 hours. So No Hygiene. You gotta love it. Here's Skamra. Interesting piece. Good night. So nice, kind of faded out in certain areas. Looks like continuing to push stable diffusion forward. In this kind of broken pixelation. Nice AI piece from Skamra. As we move into the physicals, this was posted by It's Not Gallery. And Beziemieni is, I think, the artist Beziemieni art, just totally, unusual, out of the box thinking work here. Kind of looks like, I think, a Jurassic Park or something. I don't know what this is, but I thought it was pretty cool and nice execution. And once again, It's Not Gallery showing, a real pioneer curation over there on Instagram with It's Not Gallery. It's very impressive. Ochiai Shohei. I wasn't sure what this was. Maybe it says, maybe it's a camera? The Ricoh GR3. I think it's a camera. I wasn't sure, but I didn't mind not knowing. Like I kind of love. I think it's a camera. I mean, it's pretty cool. Also, I think out of Japan, interestingly. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for everything. Thanks for the support and thanks just for everything. It's a wonderful Friday. Thanks again. Until next time, take care.